Good morning, everyone. Jacques Doucet checking in with you from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Good to see you this morning as the LSU Tigers claw their way to a victory over the Arkansas Razorbacks. Tigers win by a field goal in Death Valley, final 34-31. Going to give my quick thoughts on this game before we move on to Brian Kelly, his press conference today in about an hour. Of course, WAFB will live stream that for you as usual as the Tigers now look ahead to the Ole Miss Rebels in Oxford. Certainly, that's going to be another huge game for LSU. Ole Miss likes nothing better than to beat LSU. Certainly, Mississippi State is their big rival, their big in-state rival to close out the year in the Egg Bowl. But boy, if Ole Miss can beat LSU, they love to rub that in the Tigers' face. So quick thoughts on this game. LSU's offense came out to a slow start. Quarterback Jaden Daniels was off. He was inaccurate early on. Even the completions, Malik Neighbors was kind of going low to get. But certainly late in the first half, Daniels and the LSU offense find their stride. We saw him do this a lot last year when the LSU offense would struggle early on, and then he would find a groove and get going. We saw that in the Mississippi State game last year, the Auburn game last year. So it only takes LSU 3 plays and 75 yards to score a touchdown late in the first half. First, he hits Brian Thomas across the middle for about 26 yards, I believe. And then there's a 49-yard bomb into the north end zone to put LSU on the board. And certainly in the first half, yes, there were a couple, maybe a few throws by Jaden Daniels that were underthrown. Certainly there was one heading towards the south end zone that maybe if it's a yard further, Malik Neighbors is able to get under it for a touchdown. Instead, it's more coming at him. It bounces off his helmet straight up into the air. There was another one to Brian Thomas towards the student section in the north end zone. If it comes over the top, maybe Thomas catches it in stride. Instead, perhaps it's a tad underthrown into the outside. He's got to turn and try to pivot and make the catch, and that was another incompletion. However, let's not get crazy with this, okay? I don't know if I've ever seen an LSU quarterback or covered one that is scrutinized and is, like I said yesterday, you won the lottery, but you're complaining about the taxes with Jaden Daniels. I saw people complaining about the first touchdown pass to Brian Thomas, which was the one late in the first half being underthrown. From my vantage point, that ball was thrown about 50 yards in the air. Brian Thomas did not break stride. It was thrown away from the defensive back. He catches it in stride. He goes in the end zone. I still saw some people complaining that the ball was underthrown. I think that is nitpicking to the umpteenth degree. In the second half, Arkansas jumped off sides. Jaden Daniels knew it. The whole offense knew it. And the ball was severely underthrown to Brian Thomas. It gets deflected up in the air. Thomas catches it, makes one move, and he's into the end zone. He knew it was offsides. Jaden Daniels knew Arkansas was offside. So if it's intercepted, LSU's getting the ball back. So if we want to complain about that ball being underthrown, so be it. But I think that once again, you are emotionally invested against something or someone to be, getting that upset about something like that. We're working on a game-to-game basis. If he underthrows some balls at Ole Miss and Oxford and they cost LSU the game, certainly I will talk about it and we will talk about it. But in this case, let's just continue with the conversation. So in the second half, I think Daniels continuing to show his maturity as a passer into the south end zone. There's a rusher bearing down on him. Daniels hangs in the pocket, slings it across the middle on a crossing route to Malik Neighbors, catch, touchdown for the score. And perhaps his most beautiful pass of the night was to Malik Neighbors in the north end zone. When he first threw it, watching it from the press box, the ball appeared to be a bit overthrown, but Malik Neighbors gets under it, makes that catch, and I think gets 2 feet, maybe 3 feet in bounds as Malik Neighbors continues his tremendous season. So LSU's offense did not start where they left off at Mississippi State, but certainly it was enough to get the job done. A lot of discussion about LSU in that last drive. Did they play it correctly in terms of the clock and kicking the field goal and Perhaps they should have bled it to 0. Maybe here and there, but once again, maybe that is a tad bit of nitpicking, although Arkansas did get the ball one last time, had a chance to throw one last Hail Mary that was deflected into the air and intercepted. So LSU's offense, I can't complain a whole lot about it, although they did start slowly before they caught fire. The rushing attack provided, once again, what was needed in the game. And once again, it's Logan Diggs, your leading rusher, 97 yards on 14 carries. He averaged almost 7 per carry. Josh Williams only carried that one time for 41 yards. That was in the second quarter, right? And then Daniels, the quarterback, carries 10 times for a net of 36. Caleb Jackson got those 2. I think they were back-to-back carries in the second half. 2 carries for 12 yards. John Emery Jr., 2 carries for 3 yards. Neighbors was targeted 14 times. He caught 8 of them for 130 yards. And then Brian Thomas, perhaps his best game as a Tiger, 5 catches, 133 yards, and 2 scores. Mason Taylor continuing to recover and move forward after that ankle injury. 3 catches, 33 yards. Aaron Anderson still has not hit the stride, still has not delivered the big play that people had been waiting on, but caught 2 passes for 14 yards. Josh Williams had a 7-yard catch, and Logan Diggs had a 3-yard catch. Jaden Daniels, like I said, the most scrutinized quarterback in LSU history, perhaps 20 out of 29 through the 1 interception. Dwight McLaughlin, former LSU Tiger, jumped the route. 320 yards, 4 touchdowns against an SEC opponent. Can he improve? Of course, we can all improve. But LSU's quarterback play, in case you haven't maybe kept up, and Jaden Daniels is on target to have one of the best statistical years for a quarterback in LSU history. Certainly, I know the modern day rules of football favor offenses over defenses. We saw that when Harold Perkins Jr. was flagged for the roughing the passer on KJ Jefferson. But Jaden Daniels is having a tremendous year statistically so far. And on the other side of things, the LSU defense, okay? I think safely this is the 3rd time in the 4 games that LSU has played that fans are walking away with a not-so-great feeling about the LSU defense. Certainly in the season opener against Florida State, you give up 45 points. The second game of the year against Grambling, which is kind of a glorified scrimmage. Grambling on their first 3 offensive drives marches deep against this LSU defense. I think it was 238 yards on Grambling's first 3 marches. The Mississippi State game, LSU back on track, right? Holding Mississippi State. I think it was just 7 or 9 yards on their first 5 possessions of the game. But in this game, LSU cannot get off the field on the defensive end of things. Jefferson, 21 out of 31 passing. He was intercepted twice, 1 on the last play of the game, 1 in the first half by Andre Sam. 289 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was sacked 4 times, but there was countless other times where you felt like the LSU pressure should have gotten to him and he slipped away. He is 250 pounds. He is a big dude, but very hard to get down to the ground. But there were busts in the LSU secondary. Luke Haas, I believe that's the freshman tight end, right? 6 catches, 116 yards. Very reminiscent of the play against Alabama in Tiger Stadium last year, where Bryce Young somehow got out of the pocket and found a wide open guy down the right sideline into the south end zone. That happened in this game with Jefferson and Haas. They hooked up for a 59-yard touchdown. I think it was Zay Alexander was the corner, kind of was back in pass coverage. Then the receiver just ran by him. I don't know if he thought he had help or if his eyes were on the quarterback or whatever. That was a bust. Haas got open again for another 9-yard touchdown in the south end zone. That was a bust. And so, and then they also, Arkansas ran the ball 37 times for a net of 170, although Jefferson lost 27 yards on sacks. But Arkansas really had their way, and especially with the time of possession, right? The time of possession at one point favored Arkansas 27 minutes to 12. And you really worry about that statistically and defensively, that as this game gets into the fourth quarter, you're going to be gassed, right? Your defense is going to be tired. And really, obviously, at the end of the day, the LSU offense was able to survive the LSU defense in terms of team with the ball last, basically winning the game. Arkansas, 25 first downs in the game. a total of 426 yards. Arkansas was hurt with the penalties much more than LSU, 11 for 69 in the game. But third down conversions, Arkansas 8 out of 13 third down conversions. That is not good if you're an LSU fan. And as I look at LSU statistics on the year, defensively, LSU is giving up 44% on third down. That is not good. Okay, we're getting close, obviously, to 50% where the opposing team is making it on third down. And if you remember, back in August when LSU defensive coordinator Matt House met with the media, there were two things he said that this team needed to improve on in a big way. One was third down percentage, and the other was turnovers. And so in this case, Arkansas way too successful on third down. And listening to the postgame show and listening to Richard Dixon and Charles Hannegriff and some other guys who know football much better than me, there still seems to be a sentiment that LSU in the secondary just is not as talented as in years past, in which they built the reputation of DBU. So final thoughts, LSU offensively gets the job done after a slow start. Defensively, LSU was really not great all night. If you remember early on, Arkansas marched deep into LSU territory. Could have been 14-0. LSU's defense bends, but they don't break. They give up a pair of field goals, both from 23 yards. Major Burns on Arkansas's second drive of the game makes a huge tackle. I mean, if you were watching the game on ESPN and they got the ESPN goal line cam, Arkansas's defender really, he gets stopped and hit by Major Burns, literally inches away from scoring a touchdown. And then Arkansas, I believe, had a penalty that moved them back 5 yards. They have to kick a field goal. So once again, Major Burns, like last year against Alabama, saves LSU 4 points with some hustle and makes that big stop. But Arkansas, their offense has their way with LSU. Now LSU moving on to Ole Miss. Ole Miss, of course, they were held to just 10 points in a 24-10 loss at the Alabama Crimson Tide. The general feeling right now, of course, the second you think you've got something figured out, it goes the other way. But everyone right now seems to be thinking this game is going to be a shootout as LSU's defense, as I said, 3 out of 4 games has not really played up to the LSU standard. And we know that Lane Kiffin is thought to be one of the top offensive minds in college football. And if he takes a look at this LSU film, a lot of people are thinking he is licking his chops as LSU and Ole Miss play at 5 o'clock Central Time in Oxford this afternoon. Not today. That'd be quick. This weekend, Saturday in Oxford. So just wanted to stop by real quick. We are going to be using YouTube much more often for live chats and to talk about LSU and other sports here on our YouTube page. But that does it for right now. I'm Jacques Doucet. Thanks for stopping by. Please like and share this, and we'll continue to grow our WAFB YouTube page. Take care.